The word tension comes from the Latin word tendere, which means to stretch. It's not a bad thing to be stretched in our careers, our parenting, our ministries, or our leadership. When we aren't stretched, we become stagnant and stop growing. We might even say that tension is both inevitable and, at least in many cases, desirable in life and leadership. Brenda and I got married in Atlanta in 1979, and we soon moved to Gresham, Oregon, a suburb of Portland. Both of us got jobs. In addition, I served as the youth pastor of a church. The next year, we heard about a church that was looking for a senior pastor. It was Brenda's home church in Hartford, Michigan, where her parents still lived. I was definitely interested in the position. I applied, but strangely, I didn't get a reply. The recent history of the church had been anything but smooth sailing. The previous pastor had been voted out, which means he was fired. This kind of situation virtually always causes people to take sides, for or against the pastor, and the animosity can split a church. The final straw happened at a congregational vote in April of that year. That's when they took the deciding vote. The church was exhausted by conflict by the time Brenda and I arrived in July for our vacation to visit her parents. That Sunday, Brenda and I showed up at the church, and a couple of the leaders asked me if I would preach. I was excited. This could be my opportunity to fulfill my dream and become a pastor. I don't know if I impressed them or if they were simply too desperate to turn me down, but I asked them to make a decision the day I preached, and they did. I was in. However, I soon learned that I wasn't the first choice of the church leaders or the people. In fact, I was their last choice, but no one else would take the position. Brenda and I went back to Oregon to pack up and move to the little town in Michigan. In my first service in August, I counted 13 people, including Brenda and me. Without us, the congregation, it was more like a small group, was in single digits. The church leaders said they could only pay me $125 a week, but we could live in the parsonage that was attached to the church building. Our living room shared a wall with the baptistry. When we arrived, Brenda was in her 8th month of pregnancy with our first child. We were embarking on several new adventures at the same time. In a rural setting, churches grow when the pastor makes personal visits to homes to get to know people, pray with them, eat their cookies, taste their homemade jam, and invite them to church. I left home early each morning and traveled around a wide area to visit people who came to church, those who might come to church, and those who had never thought about coming to church. I got home late every night and started over again the next morning. It was especially important for me to make these visits on Friday and Saturday because then people couldn't use the excuse of, "I forgot," and miss church the next day or so. My efforts paid off. The congregation quickly grew to 30, then 50, then 80, and then 100. Each Sunday we saw more cars in the parking lot. People were getting saved, and the offering grew. I was utterly exhausted, but I was thrilled that the church was growing so much, so fast. During all of this, however, Brenda was at home, very pregnant and very alone. This was before the days of cell phones and even before pagers. The only way we could stay in touch during the day was to put quarters into payphones, and I had precious few quarters. We had scheduled the delivery at a hospital in St. Joseph, a town about 20 miles away. If Brenda needed me, there was no way to contact me when I was visiting people in their homes. For a while, she tried to be tough, but before too long, I came home to the sounds of her crying.